let's jump. Nothing says my talk is super important like a giant hyperbolic earth behind me. I didn't build this earth, and neither did you, but we built the thing that connects it. We built the internet, and it's here. This conference is about making connections. We've already made them. I think we're afraid of them, and that's a large part of what this talk is about. In our schools, in our families, in our lives, we talk about digital citizenship. That was a reaction. That phrase came along as a reaction to a problem. And I totally get it. I totally understand why this phrase exists. I hate this phrase, as you can tell. It's terribly problematic for a lot of reasons. One is our youth find it redundant. Citizenship. They are digital citizens. They are just citizens of the world. They don't think of it as two separate things. At least they didn't until we made it a thing. When we call it digital citizenship, we are offering them a dualism. We are offering them an opportunity to become someone else online than they are in the real world. We're even offering them an opportunity to think that they're in a different world when they're online. Furthermore, digital citizenship for them is redundant because digital tools and tools to them are the exact same thing. The word digital for them is problematic. My wife is, I think, maybe smarter than I am. And the other day when we were going over this, she said this sentence. It's the only full sentence, I think, on this entire presentation. She said, citizenship is not an infrastructure that can be built. It is a behavior that must be learned. That's when I had the ultimate affirmation that this is something that has got to happen in schools. Schools are for learning. They just are. And citizenship has to be learned. I had to learn it, you had to learn it, and our youth have to learn it. They're learning it in largely a different world than you learned it in, though. We have 4 types of people in our schools and sometimes in our families. And we have these 4 types of people in this room right now. The first type of person is the traditional learner. This person came along and was brought into this world without the internet. I don't want to say without technology because I don't believe technology is the thing. I think the thing is internet. So my dad, for instance, born in 1951, he's a traditional learner, and he is a beautiful learner, and he's a beautiful teacher. And he has had to work very hard with an open, objective mind to take in all this newness from the last 20 years. And he's worked really, really hard to communicate with me, and he has had to take himself as teacher down to learner. And he learns from me, just like I learn from him. The next group is millennials, and these are near and dear to me because I am one. These people, they are a strange breed. These people were born into a world where the internet was in its infancy, just like they were. And then as they entered their adolescence, that ultra, super, duper, awkward phase, the internet was entering its super, duper, awkward phase. Things got really weird. If you were born between 1975 and 1985, give or take, you remember a time, I'm guessing, where you locked the door when you were spending the night with your friend, and you got on a dial-up connection, connected to America Online, and entered into a chat room where you communicated with a young, beautiful female. Yep. This happened to so many of us. And that was relatively harmless for a while. We lost a lot of sleep because we stayed up all night doing this stuff. And then things got even weirder. Things got even darker. Things got even stranger, and our morality began to shift. What we had always believed about ourselves and about ethics and about the world began to change. We started to question all of the morality that was taught to us and shared with us through observation, and it got really weird. And millennials have this bizarre thing in them that I don't think anyone else does. I feel like we're carrier monkeys. It's like we're the original, we have the disease, but we also have the cure. And it's a really, really great place to be, and it's a really, really responsible place to be, hopefully. And it's a really, really dangerous place to be, but that's where we are. I feel this responsibility. I feel like I grew up the internet. The internet has a life trajectory, just like a human being does. And as I got past my adolescence and moved on into my early 20s into adulthood, the internet kind of slowed down a hair. But the internet went to college with me, you know? And so the internet stayed in its early 20s as I approached my late 20s. I had a couple of children, lived a beautiful life in my 20s, and the internet moved back in with his mother. It regressed, and it got even weirder. And one day I woke up and I realized I can call the internet and ask him to move out of his mother's house. And that's where I feel like I am. I feel like the internet is behind me, and I don't want that because I'm so devotedly the internet's friend, and I need the internet to come with me. The next group I work with every day, digital natives. These are people who were born into a world where the internet was a huge part of who they are. It's how they learn from the get-go in many ways. It's how they communicate with each other. I work with them every day. More on them in a second. The last group are mobile natives. My daughter Stella is a mobile native. I got her an iPad mini not long ago. Not sure that was the best idea, but it's working out okay. My son Silas, who's 3, he's a mobile native. He's trying his hardest to learn his alphabet, and he's doing it on an old iPhone 3. And these kids are going to grow up in a world where they will not put them down when they are asked to learn. They can't. It's not fair. That sounds like a lot of darkness. It really does, and it is a lot of darkness. I'm going to go one level darker. I have a fear. I fear that if we continue to taboo the internet, if we continue to block it, and we don't confront its dark side, we are risking missing a major opportunity. Our morality as a society is liable to shift toward the negative before it moves forward. And this scares me. It scares me a great deal, and it's maybe the only reason I'm up here. I believe if we confront it, if we open it up, if we take these negative interactions and these negative outcomes on the internet with our students, confront them in a controlled environment, in public schools, actually confront these problematic occurrences, they're gonna mess up. I mess up every day. They're gonna mess up. But there's a lot of good stuff, and there's a few really obvious, in my opinion, solutions to this thing. I'm going to try to share some of the categorical solutions that I've got with you guys. If you're an educator, or if you're not, hopefully, you know what this is. This is Maslow's hierarchy of needs. This suggests it scaffolds the needs of a human being from the bottom up. This suggests that if survival needs are not met, then the next levels cannot be met. I agree with this, and in no way do I wish to change Maslow's law. I'm into it. I would just like to suggest there's a new one. I believe that access should be on the base level, along with survival. Food, water, sleep, nutrition, and access. I believe that access is a basic need, and if it's not fulfilled, there are those that are left behind. There are situations where we wish to make this jump, but we can't because not everyone has access. At the top is self-actualization in Maslow's hierarchy. I believe that because of so much screen time, because of so much anonymous interaction online, I believe that we're experiencing a major empathy deficit. I see it every day, and so do you guys. And we have to prioritize access at the bottom, but we have to prioritize empathy throughout all of our content in all of our schools. Empathy has to be embedded in the content in every single class. And you think, how can I embed empathy into mathematics? It can be done. Math is about humans. Math is about humans. Learning is about humans. We have to remember that empathy is a part of our school. So, we've got to advocate for open use. This has to happen. In our schools, we need open use. We need to confront the problems. We need to make learning teachable moments out of mistakes. It's the only way we're going to make the jump. And the jump's coming. I promise you it is. We've got to embrace social media. A lot of people today have talked about social media. We've got to embrace this. If you don't use it frequently, you've got to be okay with your students using it frequently and your children using it frequently. We have to use it responsibly. We have to learn to use it responsibly. We have to make mistakes. Next, we have to think now, not their future. The traditional way of thinking about education is that we're preparing them for their future. Trust me, our youth are growing faster than we did. They're experiencing things before we did. They're confronting fears before we did. They are confronting odd things before we did, very mature things before we did, and they're ready now. They can do this. They can do real work for real companies right now in high school. They can do this. They can write real books and get them published right now. They can do this. All they're waiting on is for you to empower them. They can do it right now. They have to think globally, but act locally. And so do you. All of us have to do this. The most exhausting thing in the world is to try to think globally all the time. It's exhausting. But if you think of a local partnership as a conduit by which to approach a global situation, all of a sudden it all becomes feasible. Partnerships right here in Huntsville are already taking place, but it's nowhere near enough. Partnerships with local organizations, local individuals, local businesses, these are the things that a student is going to perceive as a conduit to approach a global mindset. So think globally, but act locally. We have to exercise student voice. I remember being a teenager and going to bed at night and laying in bed for a couple hours and thinking exactly what I meant in my heart. I remember I got it. I know exactly how I feel. And tomorrow I'm going to say it. And then I get up the next day and I go to school and I'd say that thing, whatever it was, and it was garbage. Blah. Whether it was a girl or whether it was a presentation in class, it's impossible for an adolescent to exercise their voice unless they work at it day in and day out. Their voice is all they've got. And it's something that's being muted. It's been muted throughout all the history of education. But we've got to let it open up. The internet is the perfect place to do this. Let them practice their voice on a daily basis. This one's huge to me. We've got to develop teachers alongside students. The students have as much to teach our teachers as the teachers do to the students. This is crucial. In my utopian school, it's a partnership model from the ground up. In my classroom, what I shoot for is a situation where the students look to me for guidance when necessary, and I look to them for guidance when necessary. And that's how we do things. That's how we learn, and that's how we create. Speaking of creating, it's crucial that in all of our classes, by exercising their voice, our students have to create content. Content has got to be created, whether it's a book, a film, a blog, a social media experience, a partnership, a connection with someone not in the school, not in the city, not in the state, not in the country. These pieces of content are their footprint, and you've seen it like I have. Many of their footprints are negative, and these things are going to chase them down. These negative footprints are going to get them. I see it all the time. I've seen it with myself. There are things on the internet. We have to create positive content to outshine the negative. The internet could be a really bad place, but if we work hard to bombard it with positivity, it's going to tip the scales. A partner of mine who I've never met, I think it's important to say I've never met her in my life. She's a great mentor of mine and a partner of mine in North Carolina, created this. I love this, and I've seen it firsthand. And to be honest with you, my students are the only reason I'm here right now. My students are the only reason that the people in my school system let me be me. My students are the only reason that I get to live free. At the top, you see a kid creating something. Look what we did. Look what I did. And it's positive. They share that completely publicly on the internet, assuming things are unblocked at your school. that content gets shared online, and instead of a refrigerator, it's a YouTube channel. It's always been a refrigerator, right? And you can still put stuff up with a magnet if you like, but the odds are the thing that you're gonna like that your student creates at school is on the internet. The parents, the public sees this and they say, we love this. This is beautiful. My student is learning citizenship in school. My student's creating positive content, and my student has passion. My child has awareness. And once that gets shared and the public sees it and loves it, they go to the board, which often includes the superintendent. They say, board, we loved that. Can we get more of that? And they say, well, yeah. I'm not sure exactly how that happened. I'll go check it out. And then that eventually trickles down like it always has through the hierarchy. The principals go and speak to the teachers. This is how it's done. This is how the snowball effect takes place. This is how we tip the scales toward the positive. We bombard the internet with positive content in our public schools, thus liberating all of the students inside the schools and liberating the teachers to teach their way and the students to learn their way. To learn their way as digital natives. There are 4 steps, and I've whittled it down as much as I possibly can, along with my partner Beth in Birmingham. First, we have to connect. This is crucial. Connect with anyone however you possibly can. Once you've connected, you have to create a meaningful relationship, and that means partner. It's 2 totally separate things. Partnerships. Once you're partnered, you have to create something. There has to be a creation aspect to your partnership, and it's often a problem that's just been solved. And once that thing's been created, you have to share it. Don't take it home in your backpack and put it on your refrigerator. Share it with the world. And that's the only way we're going to activate global citizens. Thank you, guys.